Hey guys, what's going on? Paul here. Welcome back to another Cardano video. So today I've got the team from Adosia on to tell us all about what they're doing on the Cardano network. So there's a lot of familiar faces here from our kind of OGs in the Cardano space. So it'll be great to hear what they have going on. So we'll do a very quick round the table to get an introduction to whoever it is, and then we'll jump into the project. Timestamps will be down below as normal for anyone who wants to jump to certain sections. So guys, you're all very welcome. We'll start with Lloyd, who's right beside me on the screen here, and we'll work our way around.
Hey, Paul, thanks for having us. We really appreciate it. And my name's Lloyd Duhan, and I am on the Adosia team as well as the Drip Drops team. I do a lot of operational work, helping in the background to keep things moving, and it's great to be here. Thanks for having us.
Hi, my name's Caleb. Nice to be here, guys. I'm a certified journeyman machinist, and I help out with the Discord quite a bit and other aspects of the project, but I'm mainly here as a 3D printing advisor for whatnot and stuff.
I'm Quinn. I run all the smart contracts for Adosia as well as for Drip Drops and Noom and Token and some other projects. I'm kind of glad to be here and show my side of things. So hopefully I can contribute a little bit.
Hi, my name is Lathisan. I'm with I'm responsible for the full stack side of the Adosia marketplace, and I'm on Drip Drops and Token marketplace as well. My job is to take what Quinn builds in smart contract, put it on an interface, and make it accessible for everybody in a scalable way.
Hey, my name is Kyle. I'm on the Drip Drops team as well as the Adosia team. I'm a stake pool operator. Run the frog pool. I minted the Adosia tokens right before I minted space coins back in March of 2021, and my job's kind of to create a product or at least guide a product to where, which is something that users can use and ultimately to revenue. And so, I want to say this is not the entire team by far. The Adosia team is a very, very large team, and it's comprised of many, many different individuals. We've got, some guys who actually work for SpaceX who are on the team who are kind of contributed most to one of our NFT drops, the 3D NFT drop. We can get into more about what we do after Dan introduces himself, but I just wanted to let everybody know the team is pretty big. We've got a lot of guys who aren't here, who have many different roles, and we're all proud of them too.
Yeah, on the team, it's normally we only get one person on, so to people watching, they will think that this is a really big team, even though we don't have lots of the team here as well. But on a high level, what is the project? So someone who hasn't heard of it before, what is it? And then we can dive down into different aspects of it then. What's the elevator pitch?
So maybe I'll try and take that. And Lloyd, you probably do better. We probably have our own different version of the elevator pitch. It's something cool to a lot of different people. So from a high level, it's an ecosystem or protocol that enables economic opportunity for designers of 3D printable objects or 3D manufacturable objects, as well as 3D printer operators. So the way it works on the design side is, let's say, we have one of our ambassadors, Randy Frog Dog on Twitter. You guys might know him. He designs custom tool holders, right, for various models of tools. You can't buy these anywhere in the store, and people want them to organize their garage, and there's a whole marketplace for things like this of this nature on Etsy and things like that. So it would enable designers of these products to create designs and essentially store them in a smart contract, not for sale like a traditional NFT marketplace, but in a listing marketplace where a regular user could interact with it and say, oh, I would like to have that manufactured. And upon the user paying to have that manufactured, the designer gets a royalty. And then on the other side, it's an open ecosystem where 3D printer operators, or at least that's how we're starting. But your manufacturers can go with an open hardware and interact with this system and create a reputation and build a reputation, actually accept jobs like an Uber driver. So it's pretty cool, interesting ecosystem. The idea is to build a decentralized back end, plug up centralized front end in front of it so we can maintain compliance as we grow. But there's a lot of unique interest from 3D printer operators themselves. So we've got product market fit there. And then there's a lot of interest in the NFT community, so we can match that product market fit demand together to really create something cool as we build it out. And so Quinn has really done an amazing job at at saying, okay, here's what we need to do for MVP, because we've got to test a lot of stuff. And he can talk more about the smart contracts, but it's about 15 smart contracts deep coming to the actual product for production. So MVP is actually going to launch on testnet, where we'll launch an incentivized testnet, right? Where we're going to incentivize the community to test the heck out of certain features and then provide feedback. So then we can come back, tweak it, get something really solid, so we can come and nail product market fit. Because it doesn't make sense to audit this massive amount of smart contracts without really fine tuning and getting what we want to get to market, right? So that's kind of like the high level pitch, but we want people from anywhere in the world to be able to come with a computer and to be able to design stuff and potentially create residual revenue for themselves. And on the other hand, we want individuals who are either hobbyists to be able to pick up residual income. And so it's just our mission is to create new economic opportunity. And so that's kind of the first phase of that. And then we can scale this and do all kinds of really cool stuff starting from there.
Yeah, absolutely. The idea of decentralized manufacturing, the full process of going from idea to product in your hand, and doing it in a way that's decentralized, trackable with a blockchain. Just the real value, the real benefit of a blockchain, right, is that immutable, trackable knowledge of where things are in the process, and that's what we're building here.
I mean, it is a Web3 way of doing 3D printing, if you think about it, because there is no middleman involved in it. As a designer, you get paid for the work and you're in full control of it. But the moment you put your artwork to be 3D printed into the contract, you're effectively giving a license to the marketplace and say, anybody who wants to print this, you can print it. The moment you don't want people printing it, you can take it out. Now, there's a lot of problems to be solved down the line. For example, once the job goes into a 3D printer, effectively you have the files, the STL files as we call it, in order to 3D print it. There's no security around that yet, but this is in the early days. We want to get the infrastructure and the logistics in place so that designers who want to design and have their things 3D printed start providing it. And then people who want them but don't have the 3D printer to be able to buy it and just offload the task to anybody. And then 3D printers who have to, this hardware lying around, who usually used to printing stuff for hobby at home, now you can actually put it to work. It's similar to like mining with your hardware, but except you're actually doing useful work rather than solving some maths to mint some coins in the blockchain. So it's kind of cool opportunity. And I got brought in when these guys talked about, hey, we want to do 3D printing on Cardano. I was like, that's awesome. I'm down.
Nice. So it's all based around 3D printing, and I suppose it brings jobs for lots of areas for people, like you say, have the hardware or have the printer sitting around, because I don't know cost, but I presume the high quality ones aren't going to be cheap. So it allows people who have them to actually print any kind of item, really, is it?
So Caleb, you might take some of that one because you've got quite a bit of knowledge on that side of things.
Yeah, so the 3D printers that a lot of people have, they average in the $200 to $400 USD range, right? So even with that entry level of a printer, there's a ton of stuff that you can do. And then through that, with the marketplace and whatnot, enabling people, I think we've already got over 30 3D printers that are involved in our network, different individuals around the world, right? So we've got people in the States and Europe. We got a couple people in Asia, and eventually the goal is to expand that out to the entire world, right? And that's part of the decentralized portion of it. And as a 3D printer operator coming onto the network, I always like to describe it that it's like Uber for 3D printers. So I can go onto this marketplace that these guys are building and say, oh, here's a job. I've got the equipment. I've got the filament. My printer can print at these settings, and then I can accept that job and ship it off to whoever ordered that part. So it's very exciting for 3D printers, and we're seeing people coming in every single week asking, hey, how do I get involved as a 3D printer operator? We've even got some of the Adosia team. They went out and they bought their own printers just to get started. And part of this is education, right? So with the Discord and different avenues of communication that we have, our goal is to also educate new people and help get people up to speed so they can plug in and join this network.
Yeah, one of the cool things I'm looking forward to is the ability for 3D printer operators to make bid. So the way to look at this problem is I might be in UK, but my nearest 3D printer person who can ship it to me might be in France, for example. So somebody who's in USA wouldn't necessarily make a bid against that and say, I'm willing to print it for whatever number of ADA. So it's almost like an offer system in the sense that the buyer always decides who they want to accept the offer from. So initially, nobody will have any rating because everybody's new, right? But you can start accepting jobs, and over time, you're going to grow this repertoire of, I've done X many jobs, and these are my usual rating. So you can almost think of it like a Fiverr. Now, 3D printing objects that are in the marketplace is one job, but it also opens up an opportunity for people to offer their services outside of what the marketplace has to offer. For example, you can just put up a job and say, hey, I need to print something private that I've designed and X many copies for upcoming convention or something. And then you're able to sell your services through our network as well as, so it's always about creating economic, opportunities. And somebody who's in, Dubai or somewhere like really far away could be just start creating their own opportunities. I remember when the play-to-earn game, the game industry started, people were reporting, hey, I'm not going to work, I'm actually playing this game to earn this money, right? It would be one of those sort of ideas.
Okay, nice. And just on so you're going to have a marketplace for the actual blueprints for, say, designers can design them and upload them. When, say, I went on and I seen something I wanted to get printed and I buy it, is it a one-time use that I get it for, or do I buy, is it a lifetime? I know, like with artwork and stuff like that, it can be similar with some of the licenses. Is it a one-time use, or can I just keep coming back and printing the same thing once I pay for that item?
I'll take this one. So in the MVP, it's a lifetime print. You're basically buying the right to continuously print this, and then after the printing cycle, you pay the printer, the royalties, whatever. You actually get the printing order back, and you can just reprint it again if you ever want to. I think in the future we can really allow for the customizability of this. It's really not that kind of hard, I guess, for the technical setting. But yeah, initially it's like a lifetime print. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, because when the designer puts it up and you purchase it, it's almost like buying an NFT. Like you have the rights to those assets, but you still have to pay every time you want a physical copy of it. That's where the printer operator comes in.
Yeah, and when I have that item, can I actually, so I pay for it initially, can I sell that on later? And is that where the royalties come in, that the original creator still gets back part of that sale, or is that option there?
Actually, yeah, because once you have that purchase order, the right to print, that's just your NFT. You can go on a marketplace and sell that, and then someone else can purchase that on like a secondary market, come over to the Adosia space printer, get it printed for themselves, and then they can continue the cycle. Very similar to any other NFTs.
And every time it's printed, though, the designer gets his royalty from the print, not the sale of the NFT that would happen on a marketplace. So it's a totally different type of marketplace. So now the original designer, no matter where it's getting traversed all over, the marketplaces, those buyers and sellers are, paying commission to possibly the original minter if it's the designer or not. But that person is who's getting the royalty, Quinn? It's the original designer's getting paid out on it.
Yeah, if the designer is putting a royalty on it every time the printer is getting printed, that's the royalty going out to it. But of course, it's on the designer to pick. The designer could just say, I don't care about the royalties, just make the NFTs, make everyone be able to print it. It kind of is open-ended like that.
Right. And that's cool too, because there's some things that some people would want to have open and not, like some designers may want to contribute, like, I don't know, maybe like somebody designed some cool like stint or something that help people.
Yeah, 3D printing is like Star Trek. Those episodes you've seen where computer print me a burger, and we're not probably too far off from that. We're going to start with useful utilities. I'm pretty sure somebody's working on a food 3D printer.
Well, we found Gia trying to 3D print chicken wings. Remember?
There's already a 3D printer that can do steaks now.
He was trying to NFT 3D printed chicken wings.
Yeah, so everybody's selling their recipes as a 3D printable food NFT.
So sign me up for a 3D printed burger. I am actually getting hungry. It's almost dinner time here.
So they have this layer where it would lay the protein layers, then it would design like a pattern for the marbling of the steak. They would lay the fat layer, then the meat, the proteins, and then and you cook it, and it looks like a normal burger, and it looks probably more healthy and more economically, environmentally friendlier than actually raising a cattle and slaughtering it. So probably humane too.
And that's a great point. That the environmentally friendly point, like that, this is one of the things. Like for instance, if you ship something, there's there's an impact for shipping something, right? So if we can get things printed right by where a person lives in their own communities, even better, then we've reduced that impact, right? The person gets the item that they need, but there's not this huge impact of shipping it around the world to get it where it needs to go.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like I need a phone holder, and right now I would go buy it on Amazon, right? So it's probably getting shipped from China. So there's the ferry cost, and Amazon's making a cut on that. Like before they turn a profit on that, there's probably minuscule. The person who's selling it, the platform, the middleman is making the money. So that's the Web 2 way. With Web 3, like the designer could be somewhere far, far away, but my printer could be nearby, and he just prints it and ships it to me. It's amazing.
Yeah, and lets anybody come, and anybody bring skills, and anybody from anywhere in the world has a new opportunity, and that's cool.
Yeah, I like that the actual creator as well keeps getting kickback. So every time the items get printed, it's not just like they sell something once and then it gets pirated or the designs get pirated. I'm sure stuff like that happens currently with 3D. I'm not sure actually. Caleb, you might be able to answer how things work currently with 3D printing. If there's something I want to print, are there certain marketplaces I go to buy designs, or how does that work?
Yeah, there are a couple of sites out there, and there's a couple different 3D design sharing sites, and they're all different. There's free ones. There's one that you can go to where you have to pay a couple bucks just to get the designs. But once you have the 3D model, you can essentially print it and re-upload it yourself anywhere. So those are some of the problems that we're going to be trying to tackle at some point too here.
Yeah, I think we solved that by actually producing our own 3D printers with proprietary, features that makes it so that the uploaded content is somewhat encrypted but still on chain. But how you get paid and the royalties and all that kind of stuff is taken care of by the chain. But the actual act of transferring the 3D files to the printer that is printed is for like a one-time deal. This is like years out.
Yeah, we can control the number of prints. That just changes. That's a market inflection point that just that goes after Amazon, right? So, but that's a sophisticated hardware.
It's like creating DRM for music, but for 3D prints.
Okay, nice. So where exactly does the chain come in then? So these are printed, each blueprint is essentially an NFT, is it? And it sits on the Cardano blockchain, and that's what is used? Or where are all the interactions with the chain then?
So there's the first step would be designers uploading design NFTs. These are like the core blueprints of the actual original IP rights of the actual file. Customers come in and then mint purchase order NFTs. That's actually the marketplace. Then and then the printing side of it is the smart contract is using basically state representation, jobs that need to be bid on, jobs that have been bid on, jobs that are being currently printed, currently shipping, quality assurance. We're using smart contracts to represent the state of each, position of the manufacturing process, actually, because eventually I would like the blockchain and the real world to integrate in such a way where these are actually smart contract endpoints that are triggering these printings. But right now it's more of a state representation, really.
Okay, and the reputation then of the printers, will that be stored on chain, or is that stored off chain for now? Or?
Right now I'm beginning to essentially creating my own DID system with a DAO where every actor has their own on-chain profile. That's a ranking system. I have it on my repo. I'll be able to link it later. But so basically the idea is everyone has a DID, everyone has a rank in it, and then there's a DAO that associates all these actors in the system with ranks of what is good and bad actions of being a good printer, bad printer, trying to rip people off, trying to be, a good businessman. I don't know. It's kind of
all the actors, right, Quinn? It's actually it's the designer, the buyer / requester for the prints, and the 3D printers themselves. So each of the different interaction classes, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
all,
it's
all
every
actors
actor.
have a rank because you can have a bad actor in any category, right?
Mhm.
As a buyer, I could keep making a purchase or a request and then have the printers keep making offers and just string them along and waste their time. That's one matter. So in theory, I kind of like having the ranking stored on the chain because it's not something you can fake like you can on the Amazon, for example. You can buy reviews and ranks and things like that. If you had sent a job to the printing pool to have it printed, and then after the job is completed, only when you're able to rank each other, then that makes it contingent on you actually doing some valuable action on the chain before a vote is cast, so a rank is casted.
Yeah,
And all
right.
this is possible with Vassal, actually. Like, none of this actually is possible without the new hard fork that happened, because the whole DID system is like the reference IDs and everything. Oh, no, it's kind of fun. Sorry to cut you off there. I didn't mean to.
No, you're right. Yeah, it would be very expensive if you didn't have reference, if you had to spend it every time you wanted to just check something, and the whole reputation and stuff like that. It's a complex field, I'd imagine. You look across Amazon now and you can't nearly trust the reviews on products because I'd say at least half of them are bought. So trying to bring in, if you can get a really good system here, it's probably something that can be replicated across other projects as well, even outside of your own marketplace. It's something that would be very valuable to have in other places. Using DIDs is definitely something that can be good, and I think we always see lots of Cardano projects trying to bring that into what they're building over the future as well. Have you looked at other sectors, or is it just the 3D printing you're concentrating on for now? Or?
Well, we're considering different business model architectures and design. So from a high level, this same model can support pretty much whatever front end we want to throw on top of it, right? So it's not just 3D printers. We could do engravers, pretty much any kind of home manufacturing, right? Any kind of service. We're talking about chaining events, right? Like, oh, maybe I want to print this action figure from Bob, but Alice needs to paint it, right? So it's a two-step process and things like that. So we're considering a lot of different things. The first thing we've really got to do is kind of get and find product market fit, right? And get a product that's viable, that's functional, that's secure, and get that to market and get users populated and get it kind of using, and then we can kind of grow from there. There's a lot of components to this. We've got a whole governance aspect that we've got to figure out. What happens when you spend 500 ADA on something that you wanted printed and provided and you don't get it? Who solves that problem in a decentralized environment, right? Like, this is somebody has to. So there, as these orders are coming in, revenue's being generated. That's being put into a treasury. That treasury needs to be managed. So that's actually a customer service position, right? Where someone's got to go look at it and say, figure out who got screwed or whatever. And then, but that has to be paid out and managed by a decentralized ecosystem. So that's a whole nother phase to it. So it's like, it has to start just like Cardano did, centralized in a lot of ways. And we've got to kind of get the training wheels off in each little direction as we grow. That's kind of the goal.
Yeah, and I suppose decentralization is a path you have to walk along it slowly and get there. That there's certain aspects that right now it might even be hard to see how you take away the centralized element from certain parts, like figuring out who messed up on an order. Was it the shipper? Was it something wrong in the blueprint that the designer done? Or there's definitely needs to be a third party or something there, to a human eye, I suppose, to figure it out.
Right.
This is where the DAO could come in, isn't it? Because if somebody had with anything that requires, arbitration, you have to have somebody decide, who's in the right and the wrong. If we just left it entirely to the user saying that you're crap, because that's an attack vector, he could just create a bunch of orders just to build up his reputation, just so he can use that to vote somebody down. So somebody sitting on top of it, looking at it and say, actually, this is right or this is wrong. And then you can vote people into that role. There's a lot to do, but it's so early. I was just thinking about the decentralization part again. Us building it on Cardano is actually contributing to the decentralization because everything is on chain with the smart contract, right? If Adosia Marketplace as a whole went away, which is the centralized component which brings everything together, somebody could, in theory, just put that together themselves because everything is on chain.
Nice. So When will we see the marketplace in action? When will I actually be able to go in and order a blueprint or order something to be printed? Or is that set yet?
You're muted, Kyle.
Thanks, Lloyd. Yeah, we're a little ways out, but to set expectations, you know, this team's working on quite a few different projects, and actually a core component of this team is currently helping build out the voting for the Catalyst Circle election. So the team's working on a lot of different stuff. But what we're going to do is we've targeted to do an NFT sale in December. And what that is it's going to be a 3D Space Coins rocket drop. So we had the SpaceX engineers design a 3D printable rocket, but it comes in 7 different components, like an engine, a flame, door, window, fins, cone, or nose, or whatever. And so, but you put it together, and they've got these really cool, like, snappable joints. And so we put a lot of time and effort into making this like really cool constructible product. So that's going to be sold as an NFT rocket drop. And what that's going to do is we're going to learn how to test our infrastructure. Like, okay, we just got an influx of orders. How the heck are we going to figure out? I mean, it's going to be a manual process where we divvy it out based on our network, but then we've got to kind of figure out and tie that back into logic. So that part is to help us raise a little bit of revenue, but also to kind of stress test the market for that. In parallel, we're targeting, and this is contingent on what some of the team is working on, we're targeting to launch MVP on December 1st as well. So in our first week of December timeframe. And that MVP, I want to be very clear, is going to launch on testnet because it's such a complex product. But along with the MVP, we're going to have what's called an incentivized testnet, and kind of just in tradition of Cardano and how Shelley transitioned, we're going to incentivize the heck out of anybody in the community who wants to come and really help us test this kind of MVP out. So there's going to be a token incentive to be able to retrieve, you'll have a test plan that will provide, things and functions that users would do and provide feedback, and, then a rewards address. And essentially we would reward you on drip drops. So you guys could go and collect your rewards for participating in that. And that plan will be extended to printer operators as well to kind of help test the back end. Now, the more than likely result, and I think we've already decided an allocation of, I believe, up to 250 million Adosia tokens we're going to be giving away to the community. And that'll come in a series of test plans. We'll probably run the ITN for at least 6 months. So following that, the plan is to get all the smart contracts kind of figured out, the functionality figured out for what we're calling post MVP that we want to take to mainnet. We'll gear up, probably negotiate pretty hard on an audit, and then take it. And in the meantime, what we want to do, if we can, we've got 3D printer operators who are very eager to participate. So I'm pretty confident we've got that side of the market. So now it sucks that we're in a bear market, but we can probably do it. If we can match make some of the NFT market here and keep them fed in between, that would be ideal. But I'm estimating like maybe, and Quinn, tell me if I'm way out of line here, but I'm thinking we can get there maybe Q4 next year for like going to market with something that we can actually take to mainnet, but it could even push into Q2 of 2024. It's a really big project.
Yeah. There's a really good reason why we're using testnet. This is probably one of the most complex systems of contracts I've ever written. I want to make it like perfect by the time this hits mainnet. So we probably will be testing this a lot, but you probably get paid on Adosia and tokens and stuff. It's going to be fun to be involved in. And yeah,
I mean, smart contract auditing is quite expensive, isn't it, Quinn? What's the going rate for it?
Yeah, expensive.
Well, we're gonna have to negotiate. Yeah.
And if you have how many smart contracts? Did you say 12, 14, or?
Yeah, because the MVP is like a small set, but like there's all like the DAO part of it. There's the like NFT generation part of it, and there's so many pieces to this pie that we kind of haven't kind of all put together, where we have this little tiny slice right now. We want everyone to enjoy this one slice, and then we'll get everyone to eat the entire pie later on.
Nice. And sorry, go ahead.
I just want to quickly add that this is for anyone listening and thinking about 3D printing. It's not just for people who want, the public only. It is actually the system we're creating is actually quite useful for big industries as well. Like imagine if you could print like a spanner or something like, because nowadays you can print metallic stuff as well, which is another thing that is growing, beyond plastic filaments. So what if a part manufacturer want to go straight to the customers, but they're concerned that we don't want to release our IP into their wild, to any 3D printers. We actually want to operate our own 3D printers around the world. And I thought that was kind of crazy. But then recently I started watching this TV show called Peripheral. I don't know if you watched it. It's set in 2030. It's quite a nice sci-fi TV show. And what shocked me is the main character who works in the shop, she literally works in a 3D printing shop. Behind the scene, they just have like squares, a bunch of squares and squares of 3D printer. People's order comes in and her job is just to print it, pack it and give it to them, whatever it may be. And it can be medicine as well, not just food. Like, for example, what if the medicine company just put their IP for, like, for example, paracetamol, like the headache solving medicine, and you basically have the rights to print it when the quantity you need it, and then you just choose where you want it, and then you cut out a whole middleman inside it, right? So to solve that kind of sort of, I guess the enterprise side of solution of that would be to enable sort of like a guild for the 3D printer operators. So globally, everybody's under one public guild, but then you can have someone like Disney who wants to have their own guild for printing 3D toys of their figurines of their something. So that means that they have their own, they don't have to worry about their 3D models being leaked. They can have the license to print it on chain, but when it's actually printed, those files are only always available to just their 3D printing networks. So it's not just commercial, it's actually for enterprise as well. So it is a huge project. Yeah.
And that guild feature was just recently funded in Fund 9. So that was a Fund 9 Catalyst proposal that did get funded, and so that we're moving forward with that. The first deliverable for that is actually going to be at the end of this month. It's the user journey to get through the new features that are going into the marketplace post MVP, and so that's our first deliverable. We're on track to have that out at the end of this month. And then our deliverable in December is actually the UI UX for the new features. So we'll be putting out the Figma of our UI UX in December for those new features that are going into the marketplace next year.
Yeah, I guess the DAO would be responsible for admitting people into a guild and like kicking them out. What if you've got a bad printer who never completes his job, or every time they ship it, it always comes broken,
Okay, I'm going to go back to 3D printing in a minute because I'm starting to get more interested in that, and I definitely have to do research after this. But just while it's in my head, you talked about Catalyst there and the Adosia token as well. So where does the token come in? And then we might talk about Catalyst if that's how you've used for funding so far. But what will the token, where does it come into the ecosystem?
Governance and utility. So ultimately governance, that's going to be the high, but there's also utility. We're looking at it for, kind of discounted payments, and there's an incentive phase broken out too. So there's a lot you can do with the ecosystem. At some point, participants may want to, accept discounts in different assets and things like that. So there's all kinds of different things we can add into the ecosystem to add utility. It's just one of those projects that there's real users with, that need real things in every aspect of it. So there's many opportunities for influx and outflux on the platform.
Okay, and then, sorry, go.
I was going to say, these Adosia tokens could be earned by the actual use of the platform. Right. So a designer who puts a design and the first time it's bought, they could get like 1,000 coins or something.
Right. That's the incentive part. Yeah. So there's an incentive phase where you do stuff like that. You incentivize all the participants. Yeah. And then
how do you use it? For example, I want to rank this design, and I think it's pretty cool. Every time you want to vote up or down something, maybe you have to use some of the Adosia coins. Nothing is set in stone, but we can, it's just as easy to create sinks as well as sources for these tokens.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, and I understand it's early days, I suppose, for that will grow over time. Payment on the network then, will that be in ADA or will it be in other tokens or even fiat?
Well, that's a great question. So, if you go fiat, and we learned a whole lot about this on the drip drop side, just kind of exploring, and obviously we don't take fiat there, but if we go fiat, we really have to, because we've got a back end service of cryptocurrency. It just puts us in a whole regulatory world, being kind of with a lot of us in the U.S. and in countries that have to follow AML laws and things like that would have to KYC on the front end. And that's something we really want to decentralize at Doja. So I don't know if we'll go fiat yet, but if regulation changes, we may want to look at that. But for now, I think the front end is going to be a crypto type interface. But it would make sense to put a fiat front end that could buy some type of credits on a front end. But that really, that's what we kind of were saying about having a decentralized back end with a centralized front end, because then the front end can operate how they want to operate. Somebody else could do something like that and not really pay much attention. But if someone, puts an illegal part that can't be printed where we are, and if a government agency come after us, we have to block it on our front end, right? So, but smart contracts still decentralized, so that still enables, like what Lath was saying, or I think Lloyd was, or somebody said, in theory, just to spin up your own front end and essentially just leverage the back end.
Yeah, because somebody could put something bad, like a gun part, for example. I know certain states in USA would allow it. That's fine, but how do we control that? Because it's blockchain and it's decentralized, you could bypass the Adosia marketplace entirely and talk to a full node chain and just upload what you want. But the benefit of having a centralized front end for this is that particular asset they've uploaded to be printed will not show up anywhere for the traditional standard users who are interacting with the marketplace.
Okay. Coming back then just to Catalyst, you have had some Catalyst proposals so far, have you? And is that primarily how it's funded so far?
Yeah. So Adosia is not generating revenue. The NFT sale will be its first primary revenue generating activity. And so Adosia itself, from a marketplace perspective, we probably won't be in a rev position until it actually hits mainnet. So.
Okay. It's great. It's great to see projects that are actually getting funds out of Catalyst as well, and that it is able to help bring some projects along.
Catalyst, for all its flaws, it's been pretty awesome for what we've needed it for. It's not perfect, but it really did. The bear market has been brutal, and that's been one of my biggest goals. Just this bear market is just making sure everybody's fed and okay, and can still focus on working on Cardano. I mean, that's bottom line. If we have that, then we've got live to fight another day mentality, right? Yeah,
I mean, Catalyst is the fact that Adosia is funded and is an example of Catalyst working like it's intended. Because when we go use those funds to build this out and then put it out there, what's going to happen is now you're going to have a new generation of people who are interested in 3D printing, who are not necessarily in crypto, might start showing up. That's a direct benefit to Cardano network, blockchain as a whole, than just the people who are just right now. All the project is servicing to the ecosystem that is currently already there, like the whole niche of Cardano people. The moment when a project like Adosia comes online and start bringing in new people into the ecosystem, that's how you know that Catalyst has won. And so I'm very hopeful for that.
Yeah, it's good to hear some positive sides out of it as well. We see, especially across social media, a lot of the negative side about Catalyst's issues. And yes, it does have issues. We probably all, from seeing it and everything like that, we'd have opinions on it, but it's good to see some positive stuff out of it as well.
Yeah, shout out to Danny. He works real hard down there in Catalyst for IOG. So I know he gets a lot of flack, and he's the first to address any misinformation on Twitter. We know you work hard, and we appreciate you, Danny. So thank you.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, it's a decentralized innovation fund. This is an early adopter. Right? Yeah, it's an innovation fund. This is designed. Project Catalyst is designed to innovate in this blockchain. That's what it's meant for. So yes, a project like this is innovating in this space, and it's the proper use of the funds. It's a good experiment. What's been neat is we're helping to kind of like guide these milestone processes that are being added, because we're like, hey, this is a problem for us, but we can work this route with you. And IOG's been very good about coming together. There's still some warts. We're figuring out some problems today, trying to get some things solved from the way that they aligned the payments and everything for the year. So there's still issues, but there's been this let's come to the table and work it out attitude with them and us. So it's good. As long as that attitude remains, I think we'll make it successful together.
Yeah, I mean, when there's money involved, you can always find some people trying to game the system. It's a human nature. You're never going to get rid of it. And also, it's the first time this is being done. Like, I know no other blockchain, at least when Cardano started out, who actually had a treasury system in mind with the goal of actually using those funds to prop up the blockchain itself, as in bring in more developers, more people using it. So it is an experiment in itself, the Catalyst system. And we're seeing some feedback from the way Catalyst Fund is being used to actually refine it. One example being is the milestone system that was introduced recently. So that if a project basically sold vaporware to the users to trick them into voting for it and they got through the first round, having a milestone system actually prevents them from actually taking funds just with pure words only. You can no longer, at least the way I see it, you can waffle your way out of it.
Yeah, it's good to see it evolving, and Danny is definitely someone on the front lines there, trying to listen to the community, see what the problems are, and try and bring solutions to it. So that's always good. So before we finish up, I want to come back to 3D printing and how easy or hard is it for someone at home? So me, after this, I have more of an interest in it. I'm going to go and look into it, but how hard would it be for me to buy a 3D printer and actually use it?
Easy, really easy. Like, we had complete novices show up who had no experience whatsoever. Your buy-in is going to be what, $250, $300, and Pekka, he's like a space coins junkie, made everybody these multicolor Your Did It stars for CNFT Con. He 3D print. He sent out like hundreds of them from, where's he at? Finland or somewhere in the middle of. Quinn's got, oh, that's a beautiful. Oh, you got a space coins color one. That's dope. Quinn's got a dope one. But anyways, Pekka had no experience whatsoever showing up, but just the environment that we fostered, you can learn very quickly. And Caleb, you can probably talk a lot about that.
Yeah, it's not hard at all. If you've got any bit of mechanical know-how, they all come with really good documentation. Most of the starter ones you can get, there's parts galore all over the internet and guides galore anywhere you can look. It's a very populated hobby where there's lots of content out there for it. And we got a solid group of 3D printers in the Adosia network, and I'd encourage you to join our Discord, because we've got tons of people in there helping each other out and teaching each other how to 3D print. And we've got designers in there coming in and asking, hey, how can I design something so that it's easier for a 3D printer to print that model, right? Because that's something that designers have to worry about, and that's something you have to learn as well. So there's all sides of that education, and we're here to help bridge that and get that opportunity to people who ever wants to join in.
Yeah, there's always going to be nuances with every new tech. Like, take video editing. Sure, you can do with Photoshop, but you can't just open it and then quickly be master at it. It has like a bazillion different buttons inside it. Similarly with 3D printing, you got the hardware itself fragmented so much because there's no standards, right? Not that I'm aware of. Like, you have these printers that print from bottom up inside a gel-like environment. Then you got those printers on a conveyor belt that prints in a vertical line. And you got printers that go left and right, standard box design. So for the design of the hardware itself, there'll be lots of options. Then as a designer, you have to worry about support. And do you want to waste, create a model that is completely solid, and you'd be wasting material. The inside could be hollow, but if you design the hollow part inside with these meshes inside, you're saving resources while maintaining the integrity of that part. So it's actually quite strong as well. So early on, you're going to find that there's so many things, but then once you start navigating down the internet, there are people there to help you with these kind of things and say, hey, do this and do that, try this. Yeah.
I see. I'll definitely check out the Discord, and I'll put that and any other links you guys want down below as well for others who are interested in getting into it or learning more on the project. But anything else you want to cover that we've missed before we close it out?
Yeah, no, just follow the Discord if you guys are interested. That's it. And if you guys have any questions, just reach out to us on Twitter. We'll make sure that Paul gets all the links. And if you guys are interested in running a 3D printer, the ITN's coming soon. So get your printers ready in December.
And
Yeah,
for the
I'll be sure.
rocket drop coming up soon as well, you can follow the Twitter and Discord for that as well. We've got all announcements for that coming up.
Yeah, 3D Space Coins rocket drops coming up. It's going to be pretty cool. 3D printable. So you guys will be able to buy a limited set NFT. It'll be a 3D rotatable, and then you have an option to print it if you want. So that'll be cool.
And just with that one, will people be able to print it with any 3D printer, or will that have to be through your network?
Okay, so what they're going to do is we're going to give them an actual NFT themselves, and at the time of purchase, we'll give them the right to print that or the ability to print that and choose to pay a premium. And so that is going to be fulfilled by somebody in the Adosia network. We don't know who. But what we're going to also do with that NFT is when we come and launch the production marketplace, we'll create some method for them to convert that NFT, if it can't be used in its identical form, into something where they can put it into the marketplace and monetize other people printing it.
Okay, great. Once I see updates on the drop and the ITN and stuff like that, I'll be sure to share them out as well, and I'll put the links down below. Thanks very much for your time. I didn't know a huge amount about the project before, but definitely one I'll be keeping an eye on for what you're doing and how many complex elements there are to it. So thanks for your time, guys. I do appreciate it.
Thank you, Paul.
Thank you so much, Paul. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Okay.
Cheers, guys.